Can we just be honest for a second? Like, really, like, just cut the crap, get rid of it, just be honest. Look in a mirror. Tell the truths. Some of y'all need to give David Bakhtiari an apology. Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews. I am your host, John Delray. You can see right there that my handle for Twitter is @JohnDelray, JONDELRAY. Thanks for joining us today on this post-game edition of Packers versus Buccaneers. I was able to rewatch the game, dove into a couple things. Today I'm going to be going over my 3 goods, 3 bads, and there you have the facts of life for the Packers versus the Buccaneers. Before we get to that, though, please hit like, share, subscribe on this video. Throw me a follow on Twitter, or you can even follow our brand new Facebook page, which is putting out a couple pieces of content every day. Just head to Facebook and search for Lombardi Time Brews. Throw that a like. Follow me on Twitter, and you can engage in more and more discussion around the Green Bay Packers, no matter where you're from. Whether you're in Germany or whether you're in Sheboygan like me or somewhere else across the world, join in the conversation about the Green Bay Packers. One scheduling note for you, there is going to be a change coming up to the Lombardi Time Brews schedule. Over the past few weeks, it's been Monday through Friday. However, moving forward, it's going to be, and this starts this week, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then with a memorabilia-focused edition on Saturday, looking at collections, what you can get, kind of the memorabilia focus, all will be on Saturday. And then Sunday, you can expect post-game as well as potentially something in the pre-game as well. So moving forward, it won't be Monday through Friday, but it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The exciting part, though, is that allows for more time for written content. So you're going to be getting 3 videos a week during the weekdays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but then special stuff on Saturday, special stuff on Sunday for pre and post game. But during the week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as some other times, you're going to start seeing written articles from me as well. These will be posted on Twitter. These will be posted on Facebook. Eventually, they're going to be posted on our very own website, which is coming soon. That's currently in development. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, regular shows just like we've been doing. Saturday, memorabilia. Sunday, pre- and post-game thoughts. And then you've got 2 to 3 articles a week as well for those that prefer something written. Deep dives into a particular topic as opposed to a general overview. So some really exciting things happening here at Lombardi Time Brews. I'm very, very glad that you've decided to come along and be a part of the journey. Now, diving into today's game, I'm looking at the offense, the defense, and the special teams. 1 good, 1 bad from this Week 3 performance. The goods, the bads, and there you have the facts of life. Let's talk about the offense first. First of all, welcome back, David Bakhtiari. He played 56% of the snaps, gave up only 1 pressure, as did his counterpart, Yash. 1 pressure, so only 2 pressures from that left tackle spot against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, in the press conference today, Matt LaFleur said that he doesn't know if this rotation will keep on going. It all depends on how Dave's knee reacts throughout the course of the week. He did not have an immediate update about how it's doing right now, but he did say that they would evaluate it throughout the course of the week to see if the rotation continues going. Ultimately, we just don't know yet. So there is a possibility the rotation could keep going, or it just becomes David Bakhtiari's job again. The really nice thing is David Bakhtiari did play very well in his 56% of snaps. Even LaFleur talked about how there was one time that it looked like Bakhtiari was going to be beat, but then he recovered, which is something he has always excelled at from his time starting way back as a rookie until now. So to see that still be ingrained with his good movement skills means he's very close to being full-on David Bakhtiari again, which is really, really exciting. John Runyon Jr. did leave the game eventually late in the game. That was attributed to just cramps. Doesn't seem to be much else going on there. And then John Runyon Jr., Royce Newman, Elton Jenkins, all played very well. Jenkins probably the best of the bunch. John Runyon Jr., this wasn't his best game, but ultimately he didn't allow too many issues either. And then Royce Newman continued to be Royce Newman. There were some flashes of really good. Then there were some plays that appeared to be blown up. Now, it's difficult to assess without knowing the call, but it appeared as though the fault of the play that wasn't executed well lies at the feet of Royce Newman. But still, nonetheless, this offensive line performed incredibly well yesterday against one of the best front sevens in football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that is to be commended. Aaron Rodgers was held upright with a predominantly clean jersey. We saw Brady get pressured more often than Rodgers was, and that's to be commended. Now, moving forward, I think it enters into a very interesting discussion. Matt LaFleur has talked extensively about only wanting the best 5 offensive linemen on the field. Best 5. He has said that a lot. And at this point, Yosh Nijman has proven, at times last year it was, oh boy, what kind of support are we going to give Yosh? Not so much this year. Yosh is now a bona fide tackle in this league who's held his own throughout the first 2 weeks of the season and continued to do so for most of yesterday. Is he now part of your best 5? Royce Newman, who continues to have these struggling bouts in games, is he truly part of your best 5? I gotta believe that the Packers, if they're gonna stay true to that and put just completely all bones aside, like nothing else considered, their best 5 offensive linemen, how can they put them on the field together? And I think that looks like David Bakhtiari at left tackle, John Runyon Jr. at left guard, Josh Myers at center, Elton Jenkins sliding back into guard at right guard, and Yosh at right tackle. But that assumes a couple things. One, it assumes health, obviously. And 2, it assumes that Yosh could switch from the left side to the right side, which I think a lot of fans, especially in Green Bay, take for granted. It's not the easiest thing in the world. All of your terminology even flips. What you have to do is essentially play like you're playing in a mirror. And that's a lot easier said than done. Green Bay has been spoiled by the versatility that Gutekunst has emphasized, with a guy like Elton Jenkins, or Zach Tom being the new one, who could just go play anywhere along the line. Hell, even Royce Newman plays guard and tackle. It may be a different story for a different player, especially for one like Yosh, who took a long time as a developmental prospect to get where he is. To suddenly just ask him to change could be detrimental. The other part of the philosophical discussion that needs to occur here, and this was pointed out to me by Wendell Ferreira on Twitter, he adheres to the philosophy of putting your best players in the best, most premium positions, which also makes a lot of sense, which means you're going to want to leave Elton Jenkins at right tackle, as opposed to shimming him to guard. You want your best players in the most premium or most important positions, which makes a ton of sense too. Which means you're going to see the line as it was yesterday, just leaving Bakhtiari at left tackle. And Yosh, realistically, heading to the bench. So, lots of questions about this offensive line being back. The other last kind of caveat that I'm going to throw on all this with this offensive line is if David Bakhtiari is fully back, if there are no other injuries, if everyone's back, how long can they keep on holding on to 11 offensive linemen on the active roster? Caleb Jones, Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Jake Hansen. There are a lot of bodies down there on the bottom of the roster. And we're getting to the point in the season where the practice squad elevations are going to get slightly more complicated. Remember, this year, players could only be elevated from the practice squad to the active roster 3 times. In 3 weeks, Juwan Winfrey's already used up 2. This is going to get more complicated. Patrick Taylor's used up 1. If Kylan Hill's not ready to go by week 5, you're still going to need that third running back eventually. So this is the part where it's going to start getting more complicated. The gimmicks that I like to call them that Gutekunst used to set up the initial 53, or him talking about the roster of 69 with the 16-person practice squad on top of the 53. Yeah, September 1, it's all good. It's all easy. You can pull all the little tricks. But once you start to get the injuries mounting, once you use up some of those elevations, it gets a lot more complicated. Kylan Hill coming back complicates it. 11 offensive linemen? How long can you do it? Nonetheless, this offensive line deserves all the kudos in the world for their performance yesterday against Tampa Bay. As we transition to the bad for the offense, I want to read off a couple things because there seems to be this massive perception, even after yesterday, that the Packers still need more weapons, that they're not dynamic enough. Completely out of context stats for you. Just want to point this out. In the year 2021, Aaron Rodgers' fourth MVP season, and they won home field advantage, all that stuff. They had 254 pass yards and 112 rushing yards. 2022, 229 pass yards, so down a bit. 127 rush yards, up a bit. But yet the offense isn't scoring like it was last year. Sure, the yards may be the same, but what's the real problem here? Why are they not getting more points? And for that, I'm going to get to the negative, and that is offensive stagnancy. At times, this offense just goes stagnant. It does. A lot of people chalked it up to the Aaron Jones fumble yesterday, that fumble happened, and then things just went off the rails. And I don't necessarily know if that was it. But nonetheless, when this offense gets rattled, they get tighter. When they run consecutive runs that get stopped at the offensive line and the line of scrimmage, they get tighter. They bottle themselves up. Generally speaking, we see less motion. We see less bunches when they get bottled up. And part of that falls on the quarterback. During that streak yesterday of 8 consecutive third downs failed, Aaron Rodgers' vision did not perform as well as it should have. A lot of this falls on him. He does get rattled. And then he either misses throws, forces throws, and I'm not even talking about the interception yesterday. Going back and rewatching it, I think that interception was actually 100% justified. Safety made a great read. You knew where Rodgers was trying to go. If anything, Rodgers and Tunyon just didn't look on the same page about the direction of the route that he was running. So how do they avoid this? How do they fix the negative of this offense? And I got to say, I think it's just stick to who you are. Don't veer out of your identity and start forcing things. Force Aaron Rodgers to throw in rhythm, as opposed to running around and just trying to find something. This is a theme we have seen for years from Rodgers. That when the bad stuff hits, he begins searching rather than going to where the reads are supposed to happen immediately. And that needs to be fixed for the success of this offense. One thing that will help is the return of Christian Watson. You did see it at times last year. The Buccaneers were able to clamp down. Safeties were able to come down. Again, that interception is a great example. Logan Ryan was able to come down because the corner on the side that in a traditional cover 2, Logan Ryan is going to go help. That corner's just fine on the outside read. So Logan Ryan is able to press forward and lurk on that route. Quarterback School on Twitter did a whole breakdown of that play. Really, really well done, showing exactly why it happened. What can help is when you have a speed element like they used to have it in MVS. But MVS really, even though he got better at things, really was pretty one-dimensional. And Christian Watson doesn't have to be. Christian Watson being back can help exploit defenses that try to do that. It's going to force them to stay back in their cover 2s. And that could be a huge deal for this offense. And it was apparent that it was missing yesterday. Tampa was able to adjust, clamp down, come down, make things tighter. And then once it got tighter, Green Bay did it to themselves, got even tighter, got bottled up, and then didn't have anywhere to go with the ball anymore. It's fixable. That's the really encouraging part. The yardage is still there. We know it. What's not there yet is the points. But it's easy to see how that can be fixed by playing in rhythm and sticking to who they are now. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, again, really, really good, more good than bad. And I'm going to say the overall good was the aggression at the line of scrimmage. I talked about it in the preview show that without Tom Brady having his top 3 wide receivers, this was a key. Play press man on their depth wide receivers, get up, shut down Leonard Fournette, take away the run lanes that you so easily gave to David Montgomery. Shut it down. And they did. I mean, they really did. Leonard Fournette, for the vast majority of the game, had absolutely nowhere to go. And not only that, but the tackling was so much better for Green Bay. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden the tackling gets better, gets closer to a point that it was at last year, and all of a sudden the run defense comes back. Over the first 2 weeks of the season, the Packers were averaging 10 missed tackles a game, according to PFF. Yesterday, 2. They took that 10 and made it a 2. Huge shout out to Devondre Campbell. Obviously, he had the big tip at the end, but he also played like the all-pro that he was last year yesterday. Something that we saw only in spurts in the first 2 weeks. Yesterday, he showed up like an all-pro. Began leading that defense again. There were a number of plays that Devondre Campbell solely shut down on his own. And that's not even including the tip. So the defense as a whole played extremely well, shutting down the line, tackling, being aggressive at the point. Much, much better for the defense. What's still bad, though? You just knew. They came up with that big stop in the fourth quarter, then the offense did nothing. It still is 14-6. Tom Brady's got the ball. Not a lot of time. You just knew that the Bucs are going to drive down the field and get a touchdown. And why did you know it? Because this is what the Packers do, right? Even with a better defense, they still go so soft in their play calling. We saw it last week against the Bears, too, when they had an even bigger lead. Didn't matter. Packers went back into not like full-on cover 4 prevent where everyone's running 30 yards away, but they move to this just more passive defense, larger zones for the players to cover. It's all about not getting beat over the top. And so let's still call it a prevent defense, but it's just so easy to move on. When your corners are playing 12 yards off the line and the wide receiver runs an 8-yard out, they're going to get it every single time. Right? And that's exactly what we saw. Tom Brady was able to march right on down the field with pretty easy throws to pretty open guys. And it's because the Packers were allowing them to have that space. I much rather would have seen that final drive be called like it was earlier in the game. And they were ready for that 2-point conversion. I mean, Joe Barry obviously is coaching them to be a bend, don't break defense, which has its goods. It does. It's great in a lot of ways. But for once, can we just step on their throat? Just end the game early? We don't have to let it go to the end. It still needs to be fixed. Now, special teams. I can say for certain one thing about special teams this year, and it is a very large, bold declaration. I know I said no hot takes, but the Green Bay Packers will not be the 32nd ranked team on special teams this year. That's right, I'm saying it with absolute confidence. They will not be 32nd this year. Yeah, improvement. And a really big reason for that through 3 games happens to be punter Pat O'Donnell, sticking 5 punts yesterday inside the 20. In conjunction with that, the players on the side, up until today that everyone referred to as gunners, but today in the press conference, Matt LaFleur said, nay, we call them flyers now. They're not gunners. They are flyers. I don't know why. No reporter there pressed him on it when he said we call them flyers now. Whatever. But Rudy Ford, Dallin Leavitt, Keyshawn Nixon, even Shamar Jean-Charles yesterday showed up as Flyers. Rudy Ford is downright unblockable. Tackles very well a punt returner who makes the unwise decision of catching it. Dallin Levitt is a man on a mission. Watching Dallin Levitt on film is tremendous. You can tell he's a big part of the changing of the special teams philosophy. Because he doesn't just get blocked and then be done. He fights through the block, constantly moving his hands on every block. Keyshawn Nixon downing it at the 1. Shamar Jean-Charles getting right by the punt returner. All really good things from the Flyers of the Green Bay Packers. Pair that with a great punter, now you're cooking. Shouldn't be underestimated the fact that the Packers pinned Tampa so far back so often. It's a big part of the game. On the flip side, where's the negative? Amari Rodgers. Now, he did have some really nice returns yesterday, and an even better return that was wound up being called back by a penalty. But still really inconsistent decision-making. There was one time that he had a fair catch on a punt where there was no one in his hemisphere. No one around. Bisaccia, you know, is lighting him up for that. When he gets the ball, he shows good ball skills with it. He shows good moves, but it's his decision-making that is still so wildly inconsistent. Pair that with the fact that even with a depleted receiver core with Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson out, no Toure because they chose to make him inactive, Amari Rodgers still only played 3 offensive snaps yesterday. If you're in your second year as a third-round pick, and you're only getting 3 offensive snaps, even with a depleted receiver room, I wonder if it's starting to be time to be concerned. It feels like it's jumping the gun. Shouldn't be this early. He's still young. But boy, they do not want to get him on the field for offense. And it's entirely possible that we're looking into an issue that doesn't exist. It's entirely possible that Amari Rodgers has been told, you are the returner now. This year, focus on nothing but returning. Or, the flip side, with him giving him more snaps at running back, they're saying, we're barely going to use you because this is a redshirt year. Learn it all. Learn how to be a returner, learn how to be a better receiver, learn how to be a running back. We don't know. We're never going to know those things. But only 3 offensive snaps in a game where the wide receivers are depleted certainly isn't the best look. I know I spent a ton of time dwelling today on the concerns, on the negatives, but here's the thing. This game played out exactly like it should have. Packers got off to a quick start. Defense played better. Really good tackling. Very aggressive at the front for the defense. Special teams was competent. And it devolved into this absolute slugfest between 2 run and defense teams. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Green Bay Packers, 2 of the elite teams in the NFC. It devolved into the slugfest we knew it was going to be when we saw these injury reports. And the Packers still came out on top. The identity of this Green Bay team is changing. This is not the Green Bay team that we've seen for years, where it's Rodgers, wide receivers, and a cloud of dust. If anything, it's pin, pull, run to daylight. It's a big switch. It's a mentality shift for fans too, knowing that the game is going to look different. But they won. That's all that matters. Lots of good, couple concerns. They came away with a win in a hostile environment, in 90-degree heat, in a place where historically has not been friendly to them. 2-1, on to the Patriots. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Lombardi Time Brews. Keep in mind what I said at the beginning of the video. There's going to be a schedule change coming up, so no video tomorrow. You will see a video from me on Wednesday. Friday, we'll have our game preview against the Patriots, and then Saturday, you're going to see an episode dedicated to memorabilia. Thanks for checking out Lombardi Time Brews. I hope you have an absolutely great day, and as always, go Pack Go.